We have with us today the most fresh and sweet news from the Korean bio industry. My name is Juri Hwang and I will be delivering some of Korea's hottest biotech issues today for you. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and set your alarm for Bio TV. For today's Bio News, we will bring you the news that Korea's diagnostic method for infectious diseases has been chosen as an international standard, and the news on the Korean government's intensive support plan for the country's biohealth industry, and a surprising out-licensing amount kbio has achieved this year. A diagnostic method for infectious diseases such as COVID-19 proposed by the Korean government has been designated as an international standard by the International Organization for Standardization. The designation of international standard has great significance for it being the first successful case of making a K-quarantine model an international standard since the South Korean government's announcement of its action strategy for making K-quarantine 3Ts an international standard for this June. International standards related to diagnostic methods for infectious diseases began to be established when the widespread of emerging infectious diseases such as H1N1 swine flu in 2009 and MERS in 2015 raised the need globally for the standardization of procedures and methods related to the diagnostic testing for infectious diseases. Afterwards, Korea's Industrial Standard Commission came up with a plan for an international standardization of the procedures and methods, which were subsequently proposed to the ISO. The established international standard defines operating procedures and methods for laboratories that perform in vitro diagnostic tests based on gene amplification, and it can be applied to various types of infectious disease diagnostic tests such as the real-time polymerase chain reaction-based testing method that can be applied to COVID-19 diagnostic kits. In particular, as a result of gene amplification-based testing can be affected even by small differences in the operating process, the establishment of the international standard is expected to contribute to improving the accuracy of diagnostic tests for infectious diseases such as COVID-19. This international standard is expected to further increase the reliability of the nation's infectious disease diagnostic products, thereby greatly helping the country in leading the global market in the future. On December 3rd, the South Korean government announced that it would divide focused fiscal, financial, and tech support to South Korea's biohealth industry, one of the country's three big industries. The three new big industries refers to biohealth systems, semiconductor, and future car industry. The government also said that it would establish the Innovative Growth Big Three Promotion Committee, which to be chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister of Economy and Minister of Strategy and Finance, Hong Nam-gi, will hold regular meetings on a bi-weekly basis. The government also announced detailed plans for the country's biohealth industry. In order to foster the country's biohealth industry, the South Korean government plans to start a research and development project for developing new drugs with an investment of 2.2 trillion Korean won and to establish a bio fund in order to increase the money supply to the industry. In addition, there are plans to further disclose medical data to public and to establish a bioprocessing manpower training center. Through those efforts, the government expects to increase the country's biohealth exports to $20 billion by 2022 and to achieve a global biohealth market share up to 3%. Deputy Prime Minister Hong Nam-gi announced a strategy to revitalize the country's wide bio industry, which refers to industries involving technology that produces chemical products or biofuel materials from renewable plant resources. Accordingly, the South Korean government plans to provide up to 3 billion Korean won for 3 years in a bid to boost the business of promising small and medium-sized venture companies producing eco-friendly materials. As stated above, the South Korean government has announced that it will focus on fostering Korea's three big industries and the white bio industry. The announcement shows the government's determination to expand and diversify the country's future growth engine sector. Korea's pharmaceutical biotechnology industry reached 10 trillion won for the out-licensing this year. The record says there were 13 out-licensing cases amounting to 10 trillion Korean won. What do you think is the driving force that has led the industry to achieve this out-licensing sales, or more than 10 trillion won? The answer is that it's the bioventures. The achievement was possible thanks to the fact that the bioventures in the industry, such as LegoChem Biosciences, Alteogen, and FutureChem, have achieved large-scale exports in succession with a total volume of more than 500 billion won. In April, LegoChem Biosciences signed a contract with the UK's Ixuda Therapeutics for the transfer of source technology worth 496.3 billion won, laying the foundation for the industry's achievement of technology exports worth 10 trillion Korean won. In May, the company signed a contract with the same company for a new anti-cancer drug candidate worth 272.2 billion Korean won, and in October, the company exported an anti-cancer drug candidate to China's CS Stone in a 400 billion Korean won deal, achieving out-licensing totaling about 1.5 trillion Korean won for the year. Recently, the company also announced that it had conducted a out-licensing deal of development rights and overseas distribution rights, excluding South Korea, for the antibody drug conjugate anti-cancer therapy candidate LCB67 to the US's Pyxis. This year, the industry has also seen a series of other large-scale contracts landed by bioventures, each worth about 500 billion Korean won, including Alteogen's export of its ALT-B4 source technology in a 4 trillion Korean won deal. Setting aside those achievements coming from large pharmaceutical companies such as Hanmi Pharmaceuticals, Yuhan Corporation, and JW Holding, about 8.4 trillion Korean won worth of technology exports, in other words, out-licensing, achieved by the industry this year are attributable entirely to bioventures. The real impact of the technology exports can be assessed only after milestone payments are received. Therefore, in the case of companies that transfer technology this year, their milestone profits will be visible from next year on. Let's keep an eye out for what the industry will accomplish in the future. Well, that is it for today's news. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and set your alarm for bio news. And one more thing today, koreabio has published an English brochure, so please take a look via the link included in the video introduction. Make sure to have koreabio as a friend on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. I'll come back to you in 2 weeks with more new interesting issues related to the Korean bio industry. Bye.